Welcome to Section 6, Interpreting Circle Graphs. Here, we're going to get away from using formulas to calculate area and circumference of various shapes, and instead focus on graphs. So let's start with one you're familiar with, bar graphs. Now they are a great way to visually represent data. And double bar graphs can display two sets of data at once, which is useful to make comparisons between data sets. Now, bar graphs can be vertical or even horizontal, but they always have a title, which is important because that tells you what it's about. Now, this double bar graph also includes a legend, so you can tell what each bar represents. Now, when reading graphs, it's important to always look at the scale. For the graph on the left, I see that each block goes up by 1. Now, for the graph on the right, every 2 blocks increases by 10, meaning each block is worth 5. So it's always important to look at the scale so you read the graph correctly. So now let's look at circle graphs. In a circle graph, you have a circle that's broken into sectors or pieces, and each sector represents a percent of the whole. So something like this. You can see that in each sector, it has a percent. And if you were to add up all those percents, they would add up to 100. So that's an important fact to remember. Now, graphs in general are a great way to visualize data, but circle graphs are great if you want to represent percents and show how one sector can compare to another one proportionally. Now let's look at some examples of circle graphs that you may come across. Here's one that showed up on an electric bill. So I see that over 56% of the electricity usage was spent on home heating, while 22% was used on appliances and electronics. Now I easily found that information by reading the title, How Does Your Home Use Electricity?, and looking at the legend. These are two important facts that you need to include when doing a circle graph so that whoever reads it can easily understand what they're looking at. Now, displaying this information in a circle graph is a great way for homeowners to quickly look to see how their electricity is being used. They can then take this information and make adjustments like installing some extra insulation around windows and doors to help reduce their usage on heating. Now here's another example of a circle graph which appeared in a review of the electricity system by the government of Newfoundland. Now this was a very long document that had a lot of information and discussions on Muskrat Falls, Holyrood generating plants, and oil prices. So you can see how a colorful circle graph can provide a quick snapshot of data in which information can easily be read. On another note, circle graphs are also referred to as pie graphs or pie charts. So you might see that terminology being used in real-life examples. Now take a second to look at this circle graph and see if you can spot the mistake. Now do you remember when I mentioned that all the percents should add up to 100? Well, if I quickly look at some of these values, I can see that they would be greater than 100. So there was some mistake here. They are definitely misrepresenting the data. So always be careful and look at graphs with a critical eye. So now you can proceed to the next video in this lesson.